Hello and welcome to another model building workshop. I am Mr. Allen. I'm coming to you from Providence on behalf of the Community Libraries of Providence. And we're looking at the Sturmgeschütz III C and D SG KFZ 142. That's a mouthful. We're just going to call this the StuG III C and make it kind of simple, right? So this is a Dragon kit, or DML, I think is what it was called back in the day, for Dragon Models Limited. And here she is. This is an early version of the Sturmgeschütz with the short 75mm gun. I think a lot of us are in model building are familiar with the Sturmgeschütz as the long gun tank killers of the late war period, but this is from 1941 era. 42, in that period when these were just infantry support guns. And they were using the short barrel 75mm gun that was used in the early Panzer IVs as infantry support. So this was kind of a fire support weapon that would help infantry when they came across a stumbling block like a small fortification, machine gun nest, etc. They would call one of these in to clear the way for them. And that was the purpose. This was a, we're using a Panzer III chassis and just putting a box on top and throwing a gun in there. And a quick, expedient rush job to get some support out there. Get an extra gun out there with some thicker armament on the front and thicker armor. So a Dragon kit, and in my mind I think this is a beautiful kit, and there's a lot of different Sturmgeschütz kits out there from just about every model manufacturer there is in this game, because this is such a popular vehicle, and you've got them all the way from A all the way to the late G models. And for example, this is the Dragon Type A, the earliest version of this combo, and this particular one is marketed as the Michael Whitman version. Just to make do of trying to get us tank nerds to buy. Ooh, it's a Michael Whitman vehicle, because Michael Whitman becomes the big tiger ace during the Battle of Normandy. So it's a famous figure for tank historians. And this is one of his first vehicles, was the StuG A that he's got here. So we'll take a look at this one, and I'll go back to the Type CD in a minute. So I'll knock the whole basement apart. So typical of Dragon, you've got a lot of parts that are not going to be used because they tended to use the same molds over and over again, because this is a Panzer III kit and they just keep reissuing and come up with different variants using a lot of the same molds. So you're going to find when you're working on Dragon Panzer IIIs from, this is from the 1990s, is these old kits. And it's surprising me saying the old, because I remember when these are brand new. But there are things you're going to have to fill, things you're going to have to sand, and some holes you're going to drill, because these are the same molds, as I said, that were used in umpteen different tank and self-propelled gun versions. So the A has got the early style, the old Panzer III wheels, and the early models of Panzer III. It's like up to the G, E to G versions that have the earlier style drive sprocket. So Dragon tends to be a little more complicated, as you can see, than a Tamiya kit, because there's a lot more steps, a lot more stuff to these, as you can see here. It doesn't make them impossible. It just means you gotta be patient, especially, these are the older ones from the 90s. And the new ones are not that different, really. You just got to take your time and build these. I haven't done the Type A yet, but I'm assuming it's going to be the same. Again, you just have to be vigilant and watch the steps and see what you got to sand and what you got to file. And again, these are from the 90s that we're looking at here. So the photo etch is limited at this time period. They were pretty much just using it for like the engine grills and not a whole lot else at this point. And you only get the one decal option with this particular kit of the Type A. You just have Michael Whitman's version, which essentially has this thin cross and a white circle. It's on the back and on the front of the hull, and that's it, because that's what it looked like for the first SS unit that he was with back in 1941. If you decide to do an SS vehicle and do Whitman, you know, obviously you don't have to do that. You can buy lots of different decal sheets. You know, I got some here from Tamiya, and then you could do, and it's got here, you've got other divisions and other Sturmgeschütz units that you can do. So there's always options if you want to put the time and money into doing so. So with Dragon, you get a lot of parts, a lot of pieces, and again, there's a lot of parts you'll probably never use because, you know, they're for different variants of the vehicle. This one comes with, oh, actually this comes with a couple figures. That's interesting. So I guess if you make a mistake, you get a backup, because you can see there, because you've got these duplicate running gear pieces and the figures on there, so you're going to get a bonus figure. And these are the individual track links. So that's a pro or con depending how you feel about that. And again, that's what you get for photo etch. You just get the engine screens. But that's back from this time period. Now you can find a lot more photo etch to do. And the decals, unfortunately, since these are from the 90s, the decals are all cracked and miserable, so I'm going to have to come up with something else anyway, because these are dead. Oh yeah, they're very dead. On the plus side of things, there are some really interesting markings for these Sturmgeschütz batteries, because a lot of them use interesting crests and regalia, like this particular unit did. As you can see, I'm sorry, I don't know if you can see that. Let me turn it to this side. There's more view of that fun crest they've got on this one. So that's not uncommon for these Sturmgeschütz units to have these really interesting, like, coat of arms and whatnot on them. Yeah, since these like mobile artillery, they had some fun things. This is named after Emma, which is the fortress that they came across and had to dismantle in Belgium early in the war. So you can see there's the periscope sticking out of the hatch up top there, which is kind of fun. It's got a serial number on the front, so it's kind of light on decals, other than the sides get that fun crest on, and of course you have the national marking on the back. And the Panzer IIIs had gone through so many different variations. They start with A, which is an experimental version, and they go all the way to N. So there's a lot of different versions to the Panzer III, and the Sturmgeschütz is a similar, different, you know, this has got a smoke candle box here, you know, in different ways. The early ones had the exhaust pipes are there, but the M and later versions had a exhaust pipe that sat up higher because it could ford water a little bit better. So there's a lot of different changes that come across these Panzer III and hulls. All right, let's have a look at the map style instruction sheet. Well, you can see that, but You had to put the torsion bars in there, well, at least part of them. This has the later style wheels on it. So this is the wheel assembly that would be more for a Panzer III H and later. It's got the return rollers, unlike the A in the early versions of the Panzer III. The first return roller is closer to the drive sprocket, and the earlier ones, they tend to be back further, and they're like equally spaced. But that's because from the Type H onward, the treads got a little bit bigger, and therefore they sagged a little heavier, so they had to move the wheels around to make up for that difference in the size of the tracks. It's a very difficult difference to see on the models from like the G or E onto the H, but it's not much, but there is a difference in the size of the tracks. And of course, a lot of Panzer IIIs and Sturmgeschütz, you get a lot of stuff stored on the fenders. Since there's no room inside this vehicle for much of anything, you got the crew seats and you got a lot of artillery shells in here and not much else. So any tool or any sort is going to be outside on the fenders. And it's just packed full of stuff. And then you've got a few different types of pair of different types of periscopes there you can put in. You know, I wanted the open top. I had a crewman. I have an old Tamiya crew figure. I have him sitting there, like so. So I opted not to use the other periscope. All right, there is some photo etch. You do have to do that to put the oh, here it is. This tray where the antenna goes in for the radio. In these early German tanks, the antennas would sit flat inside a wooden carrying case, which would prevent static electricity if they were, because they were wood, and you could fold them out to use them. And again, you have all the jack and all the other tools and stuff on the fender for that one. And toolboxes, etc. And there's two different marking options with this kit, both which I think are kind of interesting. They're overall Panzer Gray. These are early. You get one like the guy did, and the other one was for a mountain unit, I believe. First battery, yeah, the Sturmgeschütz Abteilung, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, 243, and it has an Edelweiss emblem, so or Edelweiss, which would be a mountain flower. So I'm assuming that was some sort of a mountain unit here with that design. You can see the flower design there, and the other's got the crest that I got here. So that's the two that come with this kit, if you were to use them. Of course, like I said, you can buy plenty of different decal sheets and come up with all sorts of interesting painting options for these things. Anyway, that's a quick, well, or not so quick, depending on your point of view, look at Dragon Sturmgeschütz Type C and D and the A. All right, we'll see you guys soon in the next model building workshop. Thanks for watching. Bye.